You don't have to put on a big suit and breathe through an oxygen mask. But the B-29 had exceptional range, flying 1,500 nautical miles from the island of Tinian in the Marianas Islands in the Pacific to bomb targets in Japan at altitudes that other bomber aircraft could not reach. The B-29's maiden flight was actually in 1942 in September of that year, after more than 900 minor and major modifications were done. Boeing Aircraft was the designer. They were not the only company that built B-29 Superfortresses, though. Boeing built 2,766, according to the history books that I've read. Bell Aircraft built 668, and Martin Aircraft in Nebraska built 536 of them for a total of just shy of 4,000.
I wonder which
Ladies
company
and
made this
gentlemen,
one.
from the right, one of two flyable B-29s in the world today. Called Doc, here's the B-29. In addition to a pressurized cockpit system, the gunnery system was also a rudimentary computer-controlled gunnery system where the gunners sat in the fuselage with blister windows on either side near the back and remote-controlled all the guns. From the right, here comes the B-25 Mitchell. After that daring raid on Japan, which was the first time that Japan had been attacked on its soil. These B-25s then headed for bases in China, but there was a problem because initially the B-25s onto the deck of the carrier USS Hornet and the carrier fleet were to have steamed to within 400 miles of the coast of Japan, launched from that location, bombed their targets, then fly on to bases in China where they would be safe, able to refuel and return home. But the carrier fleet was discovered some 800 miles away, and the crews decided to launch anyway. 80 men in those 16 B-25s. Let's fade the PA and let's listen to Doc. We'll tell you more about Doc in a moment.
True.
Those B-25s and what was known as the Doolittle Raid. Some of them never got to their bases. Some flew to Russia and were kept there till the end of the war. Some of the crews ditched and drowned. Several crews were captured by the Japanese and executed as war criminals. And Lieutenant Colonel Jimmy Doolittle, after having lost all the airplanes, thought he would be court-martialed. But because it stunned the Japanese so much, Lieutenant Colonel Jimmy Doolittle and given the Medal of Honor. Bombay doors are open.
I wish it had like a little.
Of those 80 men, all just recently passed away. But one passed away. And the guy who died just about 3 weeks ago was the co-pilot on the #1 airplane along with Lieutenant Colonel Jimmy Doolittle, and his name was Colonel Richard Cole, and he died just weeks ago at the ripe age of 103.
P-51.
These men men put their lives at risk so that life could change for all of us. Now, the airplane that just flew by, I talked about the North American Aviation Company building that B-25 and building the Texan trainers also built that airplane called Miss America, the P-51 Mustang. Doc is one of 2 B-29s flying in the world today. Guy named Al Mazzullo many years ago wanted to get a hold of a B-29 and restore it. He talked to the Department of the Navy because there were some carcasses of B-29s being used for target practice out on China Lake, in China Lake, California. After a number of years, Al Mazzullo was able to go out to China Lake and found that airplane. It was dragged miles and put on 7 semis, disassembled, put on 7 semis, and taken to Wichita, Kansas, the Boeing, where the Boeing factory was that made that particular airplane. And Boeing Aircraft said, we got a hangar for you, we got some people who will help you restore it, let's get it in here. When Boeing sold that hangar, the next company tossed them out. And we thought that the restoration work on Doc was going to be over and Doc would die before it ever got a chance to fly. But it worked out. And just a few years ago, Doc joined the Commemorative Air Forces aircraft. And it joined the Commemorative Air Forces B-29 known as Fifi to be the 2 remaining examples of this type of airplane. It is phenomenal that we get to see that here today. Now, the P-51 Mustang you saw, a 400+ mile-an-hour single-engine fighter that was originally developed for the Royal Air Force. And I won't get into the whole story, but they needed some airplanes, and North American said, give us 120 days, we'll build you a new plane. And they did it. And they had initially an Allison V12 liquid-cooled engine in it. It was to fight alongside the Royal Air Force Spitfires and Hurricanes against the German Air Force, the Luftwaffe. But with that Allison engine, it did not perform well enough at high altitude to keep up with the Hurricanes and Spitfires.
Where's the other P-51?
From the right. Just listen. Miss America, it's a hometown bird. What happened was that the Hurricanes and Spitfires of the Royal Air Force were being powered by Rolls-Royce V12 liquid-cooled Merlin engines. And some enterprising Royal Air Force engineers said, why don't we take one of our engines, our Rolls-Royce, put it on the front of the Mustang, see how it does. And it was born. 15,000 of these Mustangs were built for the Royal Air Force initially and for the United States Army Air Force. They are going to land now. I know you're all looking out there. Some of you may be looking at your phones and seeing the radar. We have out to the northwest some rain coming this way. We expected it in about 30 minutes.
That's not good.
Here's what we're going to tell you. We're going to keep moving as best we can through the show. When the shower comes through, we expect it to last about a half an hour, and then on the back side of that shower, it should be a non-issue and we'll be able to continue. But we will be in communication with the show management and Colonel Bell.
Coming in for a landing.
So we're going to land these 3 aircraft. We've still got time to bring the Wings of Blue in, although I think they're going to have to jump from a lower altitude. As things get close, we'll keep you posted. But at this point, we can stay put. The B-29 Doc coming back. Boeing's chief test pilot on this airplane, a guy named Eddie Allen, said of it, he said, she flies. But then another pilot said it was unbelievable for such a large plane to be so easy to control. And the B-29 was also the type of bomber used to drop the 2 atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki on August 6th and 9th of 1945, which brought Japan to surrender. The Enola Gay was the aircraft that dropped that first bomb known as Little Boy. And then the Boxcar, 3 days later, dropped another atomic bomb called Fat Boy. And that brought to an end World War II. The B-25 Mitchell bomber, you may have noticed, sounded louder on takeoff than the 4-engine B-29 with its much more powerful, nearly 3,000 horsepower motors each.
And then after that happened,
the B-25 had a much shorter exhaust stack. And the aircrew members back in those days didn't know much about hearing protection as we do now. And the propeller tips on the B-25 Mitchell bomber came within about 18 inches of the fuselage, and the hearing loss of aircrew members in B-25s was significant.